Abbas rejects Kerry's idea of a 10-year Israeli presence in the Jordan Valley. 2 Israeli professors received their awarded Nobel Prize in chemistry. Israel endures some stormy winter weather. And our environment correspondent gives us more on the historic water deal. Shalom, welcome to the Jerusalem Post News. Our top stories for Wednesday, December 11th. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has reportedly rejected a proposal by US Secretary of State John Kerry to maintain Israeli presence in the Jordan Valley for 10 years following the signing of a potential Israeli-Palestinian peace accord. A Palestinian official said Kerry had proposed during this 10-year window that the Palestinian Authority security forces could be trained to take control over the Jordan Valley, and invisible Israeli presence would exist at the border crossing between the West Bank and Jordan in the meantime. The Palestinians have rejected this idea, accusing the Americans of abandoning ideas previously presented by former US Secretary Coordinator General John Allen, who talked about the deployment of US-led NATO troops in the valley. Earlier Monday, Israeli officials said Prime Minister Netanyahu had rejected any idea of there being American instead of Israeli troops in the valley, citing concern over jihadist border activities. Kerry is returning to the country tonight for more separate talks with Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Abbas on Thursday. 2 Israeli scientists received their awarded Nobel Prizes in chemistry on Tuesday in Stockholm, Sweden. Israeli-born Professor Aryeh Warshel from California and South African-born British Professor Michael Levitt, who settled in Israel, shared the $1.25 million with Austrian-born Professor Martin Karplus, who fled to America before the Holocaust. The 3 scientists received praise from the prize selection committee for their development of multi-scale models for complex chemical systems. Alongside them were this year's physics prize winners, the Higgs boson discovering duo François Englert and Peter Higgs. The Israeli coastline has been hit by a big winter storm that's so far causing massive traffic jams and school and local airport closures, with government and rescue services on high alert. Heavy rain drenched the Galilee, Sharon region and the centre on Tuesday night, amounting to nearly 40 millimetres by morning, while the downpour has led to a rise in Lake Kinneret's water level by 2 centimetres in 24 hours. And snow is expected in Jerusalem on Thursday and Friday, with nationwide temperatures expected to drop by around 9 degrees centigrade below average. The new water deal signed between Israel, the Palestinian Authority and Jordan will allow the 3 countries to swap and share water between the Red and Dead Seas. The World Bank's Water Practice Division has told the Jerusalem Post the deal will increase Israel's water sales to the Palestinian Authority by 20 million cubic meters annually. I'm joined now by the Jerusalem Post's environment correspondent, Sharon Yudasin. Sharon, welcome to the Jerusalem Post studio. This is a pretty major deal. What exactly does it involve on the ground, and who's financing it?
Well, it is quite a historic deal, as Mr. Sylvain Shalom said. However, we need to remember and put it in perspective that this is not the $10 billion Red Dead pipeline that was in planning for about the past decade and involved a lot of other components. However, the keynote component of this plan is a desalination facility in Aqaba, which will make about 80 million cubic meters worth of potable water every year. 50 to 60% of that will go to Israel for sale. And the resultant salty brines from the process will be pumped by pipeline 200 kilometers to the Dead Sea. In return for the ability to buy that potable water, Israel will be doubling approximately the amount of water it releases from the Kinneret for sale to Jordan. And as an added component for the trilateral water agreement, Israel will be enabling the sale of 20 million cubic meters more of water to the Palestinian Authority.
Okay, so is this like the first deal, that this major resource sharing deal, is it the first one between Israel and its neighbors?
Well, there were the Oslo Accords in 1994, which really divided up the resources in the region. And in addition to the 196 million cubic meters it granted the Palestinian Authority from the aquifer itself, Israel was tasked with selling an additional 31 million cubic meters annually to the Palestinian Authority. Today, they sell about 52 actually, so they're exceeding that. And then as far as Jordan goes, Israel has been releasing for sale water from the Kinneret to Jordan, and also some of the Kinneret water is rightfully owned by Jordan, and there's a whole complicated
So it's continuing this tradition of giving water and actually increasing.
But the swap, I think, is unprecedented, the way that they're doing this.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Lake Kinneret, that more water is going to be given from Israel to Jordan from the Lake Kinneret. There's a lot of concern about the level of water in Lake Kinneret every year in Israel. Is this going to have an environmental impact on the level of water in the lake?
Well, yes and no. Lately, the level of Lake Kinneret has risen and really stabilized due to the fact that Israel has been making much larger use of desalinated water as well as treated wastewater for agriculture. So the level is really stabilized, but this is an additional 50 million cubic meters, which is not nothing. So I fear that maybe it will have a little bit of an impact on the Kinneret.
Okay, and just last question quickly. You mentioned the brine from the Red Sea is going to be moved over into the Dead Sea. Why, and what kind of impact might that have?
Well, the purpose is to replenish the dwindling water levels of the Dead Sea. However, studies have shown from the World Bank that in much larger amounts, 4 times this amount, there could be problems. There could be developments of red algae or of gypsum, which presents a very cloudy buildup in the water.
And that's going to impact the tourist industry?
Exactly. However, they really don't know what the impact of this smaller amount will be. So that's a question that remains to be answered.
Okay, it's a brave new world with this particular water deal. Yes. All right, that's all we've got time for. Thank you, Sharon, and we're back tomorrow with more main headlines. Until then, shalom.